because we are going to give you some tips, which are clearly our self-care tips that we use and implement daily, weekly, maybe not for a year, and then suddenly, oh, I'm going to use that tip, whatever it is. We're going to share our personal self-care tips that improve our self-worth and those of our clients and those we connect with.
Yeah.
So number one
is the pen.
And actually, before we hit there, Debz is it. Yeah, totally is.
Yeah.
What does improve mean? I actually want to go to improve. Because improve, to me means you were pretty rubbish beforehand.
But see, that's the judgy part.
Yes. So I thought this is a good one to start with, because most people would go, oh, improve. Oh, I was no good beforehand.
Debz is a stressologist. She will stretch your mindset to think bigger than you've ever thought before, with follow-through techniques that are realistic and achievable to blow any fear out of your mind. Moira is a mindset cultivator. She will help you align your personal trinity of self-trust, inner awareness, and self-confidence so that you discover and share your unique gifts and purpose. Together, their goal with these conversations is to share how our inclinations do not always work in our best interest and to provide the knowledge to leverage the gifts that already exist within each one of us. Their desire is to help you learn how to access the habits and behaviors that will lead to positive change and your best quality of life. Welcome to your deliciously motivated mindset.
Welcome. Here we are with another deliciously motivated mindset conversations with Debz and Moira. Hi, Moira.
Hi, how are you? I think I always get a wee giggle when you say deliciously, because it sounds like you're slurring it.
Deliciously. I don't know if you can say deliciously without slurring it. I just want to absorb it all. I just want to take it all, which is exactly what today's all about. Self-care. Tips to improve self-worth is deliciously.
Very much so. Self-care tips to improve self-worth is very delicious.
Delicious. You can just feel it. You can feel it.
Yep.
Well, we've got another goodie. That's all I can say about today. Thank you, listeners, for coming and coming back to us, if that's true, for the second time, third time, fourth time. And for those who have never been before, welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Deliciously motivated. Thanks for finding us along the loop. One of the things we do every podcast at the start is, apart from take the mickey out of our accents, one of the other things we do is we do PEMS check-in. PEMS is the PEMS, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And it's just a way to check in where you are physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose is we have a number 0 to 10, 10 being
discombobulated. Snap.
Frazzled, can't see the light. There is no light. I didn't even believe there's a light. It gets a bit like that, which is common. We have moments like that.
We all go through them, yes.
Yeah, like maybe at the weekend. And then the 0 where we aim to take you is for that 0 for Zen, that beautiful place where you're present, you're poised, you're literally just
calm.
You're just sitting. There's nothing running you. Well, there's heart running you, but there's nothing controlling your mind. Oh, I've got to do this, can't sit still. It's just in a beautiful, and I'm going to say present place, because you're just present and poised.
Yeah, you're not getting distracted by anything.
Yeah. So one of the things we do is we check in where we are for our PEMS, and then we check in halfway, and then we check in at the end. And our intention for the podcast is take you closer to the 0 than closer to the 10 and beyond. Yeah. So in saying that, Moira, and people and listeners, grab your note-taking device. So in saying that, where is your number, Moira? What number would you be?
2. How about you?
Yeah, I'm probably at 2.5, I'm thinking, just because I've started and there's this happen. Yeah, I was like, really? I haven't had it at all for the whole time we've been talking. As soon as Moira hits record, I want to cough. So
What's
something's
that about?
so there's some self-care tips to improve my self-worth right there. That's how easy it is. We just choose a number and then we
Carry on.
carry on.
Mhm.
Yeah, then we just carry on. And that's pretty much exactly where we're at. So we've chosen a number now, everybody. Grab your number and write that down. Now, when I say write that down, grab your note-taking device because we are going to give you some tips, which are clearly our self-care tips that we use and implement daily, weekly, maybe not for a year, and then suddenly, oh, I'm going to use that tip, whatever it is. We're going to share our personal self-care tips that improve our self-worth and those of our clients and those we connect with.
Yeah.
So, number one.
Number one
Well,
is the
can
pen.
I actually before we hit there, yeah, Debz is it. Yeah, totally is.
Yeah.
What does improve mean? I actually want to go to improve. Because improve, to me means you were pretty rubbish beforehand.
But see, that's the judgy part.
Yes. So I thought this is a good one to start with because most people would go, oh, improve. Oh, I was no good beforehand.
Right.
Yeah.
But
So let's smash that word first before we hit.
so, and that's actually a really interesting part because one of the things that I like to think of is we are always evolving and revolving and spiraling upwards. To me, an improvement is a spiral upwards. It's definitely not to say that there was anything wrong with what was before. So if, dear listeners, if you're jumping to the, oh, if I have to improve, then that means that this isn't good enough. That's going to knock you away from that zero, right? Because that zero, if you're at a zero, even like a 2 or 3 on that scale, you're not going to be judging yourself. Fire that judge. Because improving, sometimes we don't even know that something feels better until we step into it. And then we go, oh, I really like this, right? So to me, it's about preferences and experiences and immersing yourself in what is. Like you may, on one day for your meditation, you may love to be wrapped up in a blanket. But then on another time, you might want to have a crystal in your hand, right? So you can't really say that one's better than the other, but maybe the improvement there, and I'm putting my fingers on quotation marks, maybe the improvement is that you're listening to what's needed or required by you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How would you describe?
Yeah, see, improvement to me, instantly I go, oh, you haven't done it properly. You need to improve what you're doing, but that I guess would be like I love the way you described it and spiral upwards, but also don't look down on where you've been.
Yeah.
Improvement, but not actually go, oh, wow, I was a 10 and now I'm a 2. And celebrate that, but don't just really spend 5 days dwelling that 5 days ago you're a 10. Like level it up, spiral upwards, but look at the experience and then move on type thing.
Yeah, because maybe it's about celebrating the contrast, because it's in the contrast that you actually get to see, oh wow, that is an improvement. Right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So which I'm going to say, you just said the word celebrate, and that's one of the tips that I was so it looks like we're at our tip number 2. So one is, what does improvement mean to you?
Yes.
I think to other people, because some days improvement could mean this and other days it could mean something else. So just reassess that word for yourself. What does improvement mean to you? But and I know that the PEMS is definitely a tip that I'd like to share that we've talked about, but also I just had a mental block then. That's always handy.
Celebrate your experience. Sometimes it's to celebrate that you experience something that you realize is not your preference and that you see now it's an improvement to do it in a different way.
Being
Then you
able to
can
say no.
celebrate that. Yeah.
Yeah, celebrate that you're here having this experience when others don't.
Yeah, maybe.
And what celebrate that you've got this opportunity to look at something.
Yeah.
So you're never going to stay stagnant.
But that's the thing about all of life, right? All of life is continually moving and changing and shifting. And so celebrating all that happens, whether it then turns out that it's your preference or not, it's to come into the celebrating of like, wow, look at this thing that to your point, look at this opportunity to learn myself even more deeply.
Yes,
And that actually brings that into the self-worth.
Yeah.
We're talking about improving self-worth. And to be honest with you, I think that that is a very important fundamental piece to keep coming back to. Do you believe, and dear listeners, do you believe that you are worthy of your compassion, of your time and attention, of your luxuriating in whatever self-care tips? Are you worthy of it?
Yeah.
And so that's what it is important to look at what is your definition of improve, but how well do you assess how much worth you have or how worthy you are, right?
Which then jumps us into our PEMS.
Exactly.
Which is a great side.
Great segue.
Yeah, definitely. Because your PEMS can allow you to check in on anything and everything. You know, you're having a fabulous day and somebody cuts you off in traffic and you go from a 0 to 10 and that's okay. It's just like
totally okay. Yes.
And it's like, oh, well, no wonder I've gone angry. Well, I don't think if someone cuts you off that you've gone cruisy, I would think. but it is no wonder that makes sense.
I think it's really important to have wee reminders wherever you're working or operating in your day is to because the PEMS, the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual check-in, it's important to have it throughout your day. It's not enough. I've said this before on previous conversations here, is I like to suggest, and I do it for myself, top of the morning, first thing before I even get out of bed, I've assessed, had a check-in. How am I? How am I feeling? But then, after I've done all my self-care, I might check in again. I have my own self-care protocols, but I like to check in. Do I need to do a little bit more? In fact, you and I were just talking before we started recording here about giving ourselves permission to, to say to somebody, no, I can't do it today. I checked in with my PEMS and I need, I need some downtime. I need some me time. I need some softness. And so therefore it's about giving yourself permission. That's what the PEMS check-in is. Give yourself permission to either ask for or create or step into that which you actually really need. Right?
Yeah. Which also, I was thinking about one of the self-care tips to improve your self-worth is take accountability. Which is, oh, well, no wonder that car cut me off, and because of that, I'm a 10, and I use that car cutting me off loosely because we've all had that, I'm sure. But it's their fault that it's done. It's like, actually, no, this is your fault because you were driving too fast or too slow or whatever it is, and they did it. So just take accountability to your role, because instantly when you start taking, even though it can be uncomfortable, and acknowledge that, even it can be uncomfortable, that's instantly going to improve your self-worth when you take accountability to what's happening around you.
So in fact, so you know how you're so picky about words and want to unpack them. So fault. That feels accusatory. It's not, so it's like in something like that, it's really important to get underneath what is what's the underlying emotion. And you're talking about traffic and car-related things.
I thought that was easiest.
I went through a process of myself once, many, many years ago, to actually watch my reactions on driving. I have a bit of a lead foot, and then I'd get ticked off or triggered by people around me. And as I was really doing my own work, really improving my self-worth and unpacking this, I actually would stop and say, what is it that I'm actually feeling? And you know what? The majority of the times it was I was scared. I was
wow.
scared because, somebody's speeding past you or somebody cutting you off. It put you in danger. There was a potential of danger of a car crash or something. And I mean, I've been in car crashes too, so maybe had alerted me to being mindful. But it's once I found it very liberating to actually tell myself the truth. And like you're saying, it's about taking accountability. It's like, okay, I'm reacting this way because really I was actually scared for my safety and the safety of the drivers around me. And that's it. I don't have to tell a story about it anymore. I don't have to get caught up about it or keep cruising up towards that 10 on the scale. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and when you were talking, we talked about that word fault. One of the things that I know, self-care tips to improve self-worth is not worth.
Worth.
Yeah, worth is acknowledging that things are just a word.
Right.
And fault is just a word. Mind you, if you ask me about boundaries.
It's just a word, Deb. It's just a word.
But but I can also hear when I say words and I can feel my body going, oh, but I tell myself it's just a word and I carry on. And I think that's a beautiful thing of, when we talk about take accountability and tell your truth is, and I just label that word fault. It's just a word. It's just a word. You don't have to attach to it, which brings us into acknowledging that things can be able to be moved and shifted when you start looking at these things ultimately.
Right. Yeah, nothing's set in stone.
Which
right.
Pivot.
Yeah. Pivot. Yes, definitely. And so that's the thing that's really important about self-care tips to improve self-worth is it's always moving and changing and shifting.
Yeah.
And you and I both know this too, is that you can have a practice, which I do. I have a practice that I do every single day to set up my day, to check in, to care for myself physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. But there's other times where I need more. I need a bit extra. I need to sleep some more, or I need to go for a longer walk, or I need to just be away from my office, away from my computer, away from the screen time. And so it's not to get rigid and not to say, oh gosh, I've done something wrong, because we haven't. The only thing that you could do wrong is stuff it down and push yourself and say, come on, hustle, go and do this thing that you're actually saying, no, I don't want to.
Hustle or avoid. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm a firm believer of reminding myself I've been through this before. Now, you may not have been through whatever you're going through right now before, but you've been through a form of chaos or a form of wobble that you did not think there was an end result. You did not think that there was even a light to turn on down the hallway or anything in any way. But knowing that you've been there before in a form to whether to help somebody else or yourself is important.
Absolutely. Which actually totally taps into my next one, which you know that one of my favorites is trust. And I think that trust is such an important one that goes with what you just said, is if I've been through something like this before and I handled it, it's to trust that even if I cannot see the route or the solution or the path or the best choice, even if I can't see it, I trust that I'll recognize it. I trust that it's there, and that maybe all I need to do is take the tiniest baby step. Or maybe I just have to say, this isn't for me to deal with right now. But I trust that it will all resolve and unfold, and right.
And even with the trust, then you can go back to nothing set in concrete. Actually, I trust it. Oh no,
Yeah.
it's not going the way I wanted it to go. Okay, I'll change it.
Yeah.
Like it's, that's, I guess that's the beautiful part of it. It's not just, it's trust, yes, but it's also, okay, well, this is not working out how I wanted it to or what I visualized. So I'm going to change it now.
Mhm.
Like it's totally okay. So having that trust, but also the other parts of the bits before us.
But don't you think that also with this is a willingness to try something on for size? Like you're saying, is if it's not going the way you wanted it to, are you willing to just kind of go, okay, well, this is an interesting perspective. Am I willing to shift what I wanted? And sometimes that can be a hard no. You go, nope, I really want to pivot and
Yeah.
get back to what I was. But who knows, maybe when we are improving our self-worth, that we realize we are worthy of maybe trying something in a wee bit of a different
But
flavor.
nothing's going to change if you don't change yourself.
Yeah.
Like, so if you want change, then, you can't just wait for the world to change for you. You
Right.
have to make that change yourself. And it is that trust. But also with that trust, which brings me into actually what we were talking about prior to hitting record, was when you've got your self-care tips to improve your self-worth, be cautious of other people's opinions, stories, triggers.
Mm.
Yeah, because they have their spin on it.
Yeah.
They have their spin, and we were just sharing. I'd gone through some stuff a few years ago, and I said to, it was interesting having the right people around that I could share that stuff to.
Yeah.
That was going to stay in a tight vault. If I
Yes.
could make it that way, I
Into
don't
a
know.
bubble. Yeah.
To just to allow me that space and share, because when I did share some stuff, people put their own spin on, and it blew way out of control. Not control's the word, but way out of me. It is a control actually, because I wanted to control my story. It's an interesting. My number where I was at 2.5,
Oopsie.
they went closer to a zeros, and now gone back to another little thing that goes on a note. But it is be aware of other people's
of their agendas or their opinions or their mindset, or absolutely. Yeah.
Because they will put their stuff on you. When I say stuff, they'll put their thoughts, emotions, actions onto you. And if you're in that bubble where you're open to hearing things, you're going to absorb their stuff without knowing it's their stuff, not yours.
Mhm.
If that
No, I remember working with a mentor many years ago, and she was going through some kind of health challenge. I can't remember what it was now, but she put it on Facebook. She did a post of what she was doing, and she was doing it from a perspective of wanting to illustrate how you could deal with stuff on your own. And she actually did say she wasn't asking for opinions or guidance. She's just like really being authentic. And as a result, she got a plethora of, oh, all you have to do is do this. You just need to do this, and you just need to do this. So nobody actually honored what she had, how she had set it up. Because, and this is your point, is that it is so important to stay mindful. And for my own self, if I'm in a really vulnerable space, which we all go through, I'm very mindful of who am I going to tell, who am I going to, who am I going to let into this bubble? Because oftentimes I find it easier to keep it very small with just a few people in there. And then if I share, it's because I've dealt with it. I might share it as a teaching or a inspirational type of experience, like I broke my arm, or actually that's breaking my arm. The two ones that come to mind immediately was when I broke my arm, and then there was a time too I had pneumonia. And both of those were very, very traumatic.
Yeah.
But I only spoke about them until I was out the other side. With because I want all my energy on doing my healing, improving my self-worth, improving my self-care, not getting derailed or thrown off course or having somebody else's sympathy or energy involved in it.
Yeah.
I just feel that that's a bit of a drain. And did you find that when in the instance you were talking about?
Yeah, and I also found people had opinions, definitely had opinions on how to resolve, fix, or whatever, but actually a lot of people I found, didn't honor what I wanted to do.
Right. That's
Which
really important.
which made me feel like, well, hang on, what about me? This is
This is your issue. This is my body. This is my situation. Yeah.
this is my story. You got your own story, right? But it's my body. Let me figure this one out. It's valid to hear other people's. So, having the right tribe around is incredibly important for your self-worth. But look, I'm not saying to people, don't ditch your friends and don't not tell your friends. I'm just saying, share what feels right for you and what doesn't feel right for you. But, I'm going to put another bullet point in there for that is Moira and myself, Debz and Moira, we've both been doing this. What did we say? Did we say we were nearly was it 70 years? Or
I think it was
80?
closer to 80 between us.
I
I think that's crazy.
think I've just got back problems and knee problems and hip problems just from age that long. But Moira and I, so nearly 80 years experience between us, we know what we're doing. And when you show up to us and you present us with your wobbles, your chaos, whatever it is, we have a encyclopedia of tools.
Plethora of tips and practices and suggestions and
So the key is you're not alone in any of this. If you would like help with your tribe, but also if you'd like help with whatever's going on, we're here for you.
Definitely.
We have your back to go through. Yeah.
Yep. And that's actually what kind of inspires us to always have these conversations and make ourselves available, for a consultation or a working with us on a deeper level. Because this is us.
Definitely alone. You're not alone in all of this, even if you feel you are.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes it's just a
story that'll make you laugh. You go, oh, that never happened to me.
Sometimes it's just needing, like if you're feeling alone, sometimes it's just needing to have somebody to talk it through and have a suggestion of, oh, well, maybe you need to take this technique or this idea. But the thing is, something that I think is very, very important in this realm, these self-care tips to improve self-worth. This is something that I really encourage people to be mindful of in their own self, is that if you learn a new technique, if Debz teaches you a technique, or if I teach you a technique, it's really important to try it, to do it. Like I use meditation. I'm a hypnotherapist. I use guided meditations and teach tapping, EFT tapping. Not all of them going to work for everybody.
A quick wee message before we get back to this episode. You can get access to a special gift Moira and Debz have put together for you. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift. When you sign up, you'll receive instant access to an inner peace kit and the 30 Days of Wisdom program, both of which is intended to help you feel deliciously motivated right away. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift.
And this is a very important part about self-worth, just because, so let's take EFT tapping as a really good example, because I have quite a few clients where I've had to tweak or shift things in order to make it work for them. But you only know that if you allow yourself to try it, to try the technique, to learn the technique, to follow it, to do it. And whether you do it when you're with me, if you were in a session, you would do it with me, but then I might send you away with some homework to try it out. And you might say, no, it doesn't work. This just doesn't resonate. And that's okay. That's, in fact, it's more than okay, because the thing is, there's more than one tool, but you see, the tool is not going to work for you if you only go along doing it because Moira says this does this, but it doesn't vibe with me. So and this is such a huge elevation to self-worth. You are worthy of tailoring, of tweaking, of saying, no, I want a better word for that. Like if I'm teaching you affirmations, for instance, and there's a word that you really dislike, then don't use that word, because it's not going to sink in and have the benefit for you. So this is a very important piece around that improving self-worth, is just because there's this protocol that, and to Deb's point, there is no one size fits all here. That's why we have to keep having these conversations and keep inspiring people to say, try it out. How does it make you feel about you? And also understanding that there is no one technique that will apply to every situation that you experience, every form of discombobulation or chaos, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the beautiful thing. I was talking about this at the weekend. We were talking about, so one of the things for me, self-care tips to improve my self-worth, is if I feel that wobble come on, I will literally just put my hand on my heart.
Me too.
And that alone is the quickest one that I do straight away. I just go hand on my heart. If my brain goes, there's something chaotic going on, or there's a wobble going on, or you're not feeling whatever it is, hand on heart, boom, straight away. And it just instantly calms my 10, being my 10, if I'm a 10 in those numbers, right down to, a 5 or a 4. Just instantly, my brain goes to that. So hand on heart is one of my favorite ones. But I just want to jump into another one before I pass it back to Moira, is write it down. Now we've talked about this. So write those self-care tips, or as I call glitter bomb moments, write them down, because when you are in that space of a 10 or beyond, or an 8 or even a 5, sometimes you can't think clearly, go, what was that tip Moira said, or what was that one? Whose heart? What? Where do I put my hand? What was it? Like on my forehead? Is it on my knee? Like literally, where was that? So if you had them written down, whether in your notes on your phone or your computer, or a checkbox or a box with whatever, whatever that is, if you can have that handy, because when you're in a chaotic moment, often your brain is not thinking.
Well, no, well, I might be thinking, but it's thinking, oh my God, what about this? What about
Yes, thinking the other thing. So just being able to write that down and have those self-care tips are handy for you.
Well, this is what I reference as a self-soothing kit. We've talked about this before. The self-soothing kit to me is to make sure, and you see, there's transportable self-soothing things too. So for instance, I always wear what's called, I just threw it on the table. It's called a spinner ring. And these actually have become very available. If you just did a Google search for spinner rings, they're a tool to calm down anxiety. And so wherever I am and whatever's going on, I have my spinner ring, and that's part of my self-soothing kit. When I'm in my office, I have crystals and affirmations and post-it notes to remind me of things. And this is what I'm referring to as a self-soothing kit. That yes, write things down, but you want to make sure that you write things down and you have things that are really easy for you to access when you go from 0 to 10 really quickly on that PEM scale. You want to be able to say, oh, there's a tapping routine, or, oh, there's an affirmation, or, oh, here's the technique. I just need to put my hand on my heart. Right? I'm a very tactile person. I like to have, squishy things, and I have a tension ball and a cuddly toy. I have teddy bears around here too.
It's funny you were talking about that ring. I actually have a ring that I often wear. It's not your type of ring, but I often will just twiddle it around.
Yeah, that's what that is.
But
You
it's
can,
not a signed ring. It's
Okay.
literally it's just a ring. I was going to say bubbles on it, but it's rough, so it feels different. So I think that's the other thing, is that you don't have to go out and buy a lot of, like, all these self-soothing things we've got literally all around us, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Although my spinner ring has got the moon and stars on it, and it's very pretty.
Of course it does. Of course it does. Mine's glitter.
And hers is glitter. Yes, she has to have the glitter. Mine isn't purple though. It didn't come in purple.
Moira, I'd be Googling right now. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I think and when we're talking about this self-soothing kit, it also just reminds us everything's movable again. Just today the hand on heart works. Today the tomorrow just standing outside appreciating life, or standing outside crying. Tomorrow that's working. To release
just listening to the birds singing.
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is, if you think about it, you investing your time or your research into trying different things out and creating a self-soothing kit is actually an expression of worthiness to you. You are worthy of doing the research and trying out the different pieces. And to Deb's point, there is not one, it'd be great to say hand on heart fixes everything.
Fixes everything.
But it doesn't.
No.
It's a great place to go to. Actually, you know what? Now that I actually have my hand on my heart right now. Sometimes that will actually allow me the presence to go, oh, I need this. Right? Because it lands me into as much calmness as I can for right now. And maybe it's a breathing technique, or maybe I need to go for a walk, or maybe I need to listen to some kind of music, or maybe I need to pull out my journal. Right. So, but that clarity can come once you've kind of pattern interrupted of your own crazy making thinking. Right.
Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful, the self-care tip is, it's a pattern interrupt.
Yes.
That's literally what it is. It's a pattern interrupt that is literally that quick.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's why it didn't require any thinking. That's the pattern interrupt. You can't be thinking, oh, what am I supposed to do here? Because that'll just create more stress and take you further away from that sort of soothing
that
energy
place
that's possible.
That zero we were going for.
Coming back to the zero. Yes. Yes. Excellent tips. I love the tips that came out. Deb, do you have one more tip to add to this list before we recap?
I just say, how did it go so quickly again?
Yeah. Well, I know why it did go that quickly, because you and I are talking about our favorite topics.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. That's what happens, is we get to talk about our favorite topics. then you go, oh my gosh. Look at that.
What? We've only got a few handfuls written down here. That's it. I love what we've got as quality again. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, dear listeners, we are going to recap and go through, give you a Coles Notes version of all the tips that we just covered. So if you didn't have a note-taking device to begin with, I think Deb did tell you to have one, or suggest that you did.
Quick, get it now.
So yes, if not, get it now. So where we first started was we kind of looked at that word improve.
Mm.
And that's what I was saying is that I really encourage you to make sure that improving does not mean that there's something wrong or that, you have to, fix something. But that I also brought into this part about that it's improving your self-worth. And I think that that is always something that can be just assessed and checked into. Are you believing of your own divine nature, of your own worthiness? And the other part that I said about that improving is to see the contrast, because sometimes we need to experience something or like a lack of something in order to then really immerse ourselves in the juiciness of the having of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just started looking at the word improve on Google.
Uh-oh.
And it was quite interesting, even advance or develop. I love the word develop.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Self-care tips to develop self-worth. Like that. But at the end of the day, it's oh yeah, I've got just a word. It's just a word.
Yeah.
Just a word. But I love that. And the next one I had was celebrate.
Yeah.
Celebrate life. Celebrate that you've got something to work on. Celebrate, yeah, that you've got something or don't have something. Celebrate that there's an evolution right there. The moment you go to celebrate, you can shift. And with that, I've written down the word learn deeply, and I don't know what that was part of, but I've written down learn deeply.
Learn deeply. I like that.
Learn deeply, and I'm like, okay, well, that's it. But celebrate that we are here to have this experience.
Yeah.
Whatever this experience is.
Yeah. Without saying, we don't have to judge it either. It's like you just celebrate, look at what I'm experiencing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next one that we had, we then got to number 3 for the PEMS check-in.
Of course.
Checking in with your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being, or your health, or your vibrancy. And my thing has always been that I think it's really important to check in with that at the very beginning of your day, but then also check in with it throughout your day, because it will move. It shifts and moves as you do things, as you say yes to this or no to that, and navigate different things. So it's such a beautiful self-care tip in of itself, is just that rating, assessing, what do I need right now? Do I need to like you talked about that earlier, do I need to just go and have a wee cry? Do I need to do some journaling? Do I need to give myself a hug? And just attend to that. That comes from the assessment part.
And it's a quick one, I find.
Super quick.
It takes you out of your chaos to go, well, no wonder. No wonder I'm feeling like this, because I'm actually an 8, or like it just gives you that, oh, no wonder. Which brings us into the next one. I had to giggle as I go back. And I've got take accountability.
Yeah.
And, take accountability to, well, no wonder I'm a 10 because this happened to me.
Yeah.
Or no wonder. So take accountability into that role, not blaming others or
yourself even.
Yeah, totally.
It's just, it's like, okay, this is what it is.
Yeah, this is what it is. And it's, the next tip was just a word. This is what it is. This is how I'm feeling. Okay, now I can actually deal with it. So, with that, take accountability is tell yourself the truth, because it's only you who has to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Not other people. They sleep or don't sleep because of their decisions, but you tell yourself the truth and take that accountability for you.
Right. And that is where I actually put that one as a separate tip, was the acknowledge it's just a word. So if you know, and that's when we were talking about the fault, it's your fault. It's your fault. Well, it's my fault. It's just a word, number 1, but you just acknowledge that, oh, okay, I could have done something differently, or I could have done it that way. But it's also when we acknowledge things, it's helping us take authorship and ownership, and always remember you can change. If you can just say, oh, it was just a word, or it was just a choice, I'd make a different choice. you could make a different choice. So it's always about you being the boss of you. You know, whenever I say that, you being the boss of you, I always think about putting my hands on my hips. I'm the boss of me.
She says that, I just go, back away, Deborah. Back away. Even before the hands come up. Before but I love, and that, you know, the word I had so was pivot.
Yeah.
Just be okay with pivot, and nothing stays the same. The next one I had written down here was trust, and trust is a big one that comes in. So that's trust yourself, trust others, and then trust the bigger picture.
Trust the universe.
Yeah, trust that you're going to get through whatever you're going to get through, because you've again been through places before, and it may not have been exact same scenario, but you've been through places where you thought you were going to, there was no way out, and you've survived. So it's that trust that other people are going to do right, you're going to do right, and the bigger picture is going to do in your way. So everything's on the way, not in the way.
Absolutely. And that's the other part to trust that I've always said, is that always remember that even if you cannot see the light or the answer or the solution or the direction or the best choice, it's okay. When we trust, we don't have to see it. We trust it's going to show up. I'll recognize it. The opportunity will land in my lap, but in the meantime, I'm going to stay present. I'm going to stay in this moment. Maybe all I'm doing is putting my hand on my heart and breathing and trusting that just because I'm feeling discombobulated right now, it will pass. Right. So that's another layer that I always like to bring into conversations about trust. Is just because you don't know something right now doesn't mean you're not going to not know it.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
The next one I had here was about change. And because I wrote down to embrace change, that if you want something different, you must be different. Right? So it's like, if you want something to flow in a different way, then self-care tips to improve self-worth says you got to do things in a wee bit of a different way. Right? Was I'm not sure. I think it is an Einsteinism that says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result.
I know, and that's so valid though. It's true though, isn't it? Like, why it's not working? It's the same flipping thing you've done each time.
Exactly.
No wonder.
Yes.
The next one I've got here is be aware of other people's stories. Be aware of other people's opinions, triggers, other people's stories, and find your tribe that sits with you. So there's people that you can share stuff with. I don't mean stuff. Share your thoughts, actions, decisions with, but they have their own storybook that they then put yours into theirs, and they can mix them together. So just be aware of other people's stories when you're looking to improve or up level or tweak your self-worth. When you're looking at self-care, just be aware that other people have an opinion on, well, he's done this before, you need to do this again, or she's done this and your same boss keeps doing this. It's like, okay, I can hear it, but I just want to feel what's right for me. So be aware of those other people's stories.
And that was what you talked about, that about being mindful of your tribe. It's just who's around you. The next one I had here was to always remember that you're not alone, to reach out to Debz or myself or both of us. This is the work we do, the self-care and the improving of self-worth and the calming your nervous system. So reaching out is such an important piece to help things start to move along, start to release any limitations or stuckness, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, when I think about that, reaching out to us, I'm just going to say reaching out to us is an important self-care tip.
Yep, definitely.
Because we can, that, you know, when we talk to people and they're like, oh, I've been like this for 6 months, I've really struggled to get out of bed. It's like, okay, well, if you're on day 2 or day 3, sometimes things don't just suddenly pass.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to do something about, you know, how Moira said, you know, things have to change. You have to change things for things to change, you know,
Yep.
just letting it die down
Yes.
may not necessarily
might
work.
not be the best way.
You know,
Mhm.
may not be the wisest option with that. One of the things I'd like to put out is hand on heart, and it's just one that I love so much, is instantly I can do it wherever, whenever, and whenever something wobbles, I just go straight to my hand on my heart, and even acknowledging, oh, hand on heart.
Yep.
I don't go hand on heart. My hand's already on that heart by the time my head's going
Yeah,
hand
without
on.
no thinking. And that's the key piece, is no thought. You want these things that can just be automatic, no thought.
And it just takes me from that. You know, if I was talking about my pens number, from a 10, it can take me right down to a 3.
Mhm.
Hand on heart.
Mhm.
Oh, instantly it can
Yep.
take me to a different place.
Definitely. Which actually is a really good segue into my next tip here, is to try out the different techniques. So try them out. The hand on heart, and or I was talking about using things like EFT tapping or visualizations or affirmations, to try it out as it's been laid out for you, but then tweak it to suit you. It's a very important part, because these self-care tips and having the ability to calm your nervous system, it's unique to you, but you only know these things when you try something out and go, oh, this is great. Or you go, I like this part of this technique, but I don't like the other part. Right? So it's,
And 50% is better than nothing.
yes, yes.
50% is better than nothing.
Tailoring it to you, such an important part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which takes us into the write it down part. The write it down.
Yes.
And that is, Moira talks about her self-soothing kit.
Yes.
You know, she has it written down. So because when you are discombobulated, you often can't even think, what was that heart thing? What was that
Yes.
hand?
Yeah.
I need to hit Maurice talking about tapping. Do I need to hit my forehead? Do I need to, like, literally, because, and even if you know that practice inside out, sometimes when you're so beyond a 10 or 8 or a 5, you literally cannot even think, what was that thing I need to do with my hand? Moira's told me, Deborah's told me, every podcast, you know, and that, when you get like that, you're breathing and that's going to take you way beyond wherever your chaos you're at. But for having that written down, you can just go, oh, I'm just going to pull a card. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stand outside and appreciate the weather right now, day or night.
Yep.
Or cold. Right now, I'm going to light a candle. Right now, I'm going to play with my ring. Mum, hang on. Sorry, Frank. You play with my ring on my finger. That is, what do you call it? What's your ring?
Spinner ring.
Spinner
Called
ring.
spinner ring.
On your spinner ring. And
Spinner.
those, so they're just in that self-soothing kit that can make you go, this is what I'm going to do. That just takes me back to that.
These are excellent, excellent tips. So listeners, we trust that you got some good ideas to put into your self-soothing kit, and to really have a wee visit with your own definition of self-worth, and how can you up level it and make it more that you are being that sacred being, that you deserve your own unconditional love. That's the kind of the vibe that's coming through all of this, right?
I love that, unconditional love for yourself before you even look at it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, dear listeners, like I said, I trust you got some good, valuable tips from this. We'd love to hear, what was your favorite tip, and what do you need more of in order to really feel into your best ingredients for your self-soothing kit. We started at the top with doing our PEMS check-in. So we trust that you wrote it down, You had a wee check-in at the middle, and we're all going to check in now. But the other piece that I'm encouraging you to do, we already talked about reaching out to Debz or myself or both of us if you need some sounding board or somebody to help you figure out what's the best way forward for you. We are here for you. This is the work we do. And then the other suggestion that I have for you is to share this. Share this and bring other people into this conversation. I think it's an essential conversation to have with those you love, with those that you don't know so well. It's just to elevate our own capacity to look after ourselves as the beautiful sparks of energy that we really are. So, all that being said, we are getting ready to send you off on your way to wrap up another one of our deliciously motivated mindset conversations. I was at 2 to begin, and Deb was 2.5. Where are you now, my dear?
I'm a 0, thank you.
Very good. I was thinking that too. I'm a 0 also. It's been a really lovely, one of those beautiful warm blanket type conversations, I find.
Well, my cough's gone. So clearly I got what I wanted to say out. Yep, it feels like that. It feels like it's okay.
Good.
That's what it feels like. It just feels like with this podcast, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yes,
That's
and that
what it feels like.
we
Yep.
did bring into play the pieces that both of us wanted to do that. Awesome conversation. Thank you, Internet. Thank you, dear Debz.
Thank you.
Thank you, listeners. We'll catch you next time. Much love. Bye.